Hello, I'm Robert, and you're welcome here in my busy little shop. On today's episode, What's on My Workbench, I have officially gotten busy. I like being busy. I like to have projects on my calendar that are more than just a couple days worth, and I'm happy now because I have that. A couple weeks ago, I did a sale where I set up and showed my wares, and in that, I had set the goal of hopefully selling a minimum of 5 belts. Really wanted to sell 10. 10 would be a great show, and I ended up selling 5 there, and I took order for 2 more belts. And actually, this is one of them here, and the other one's over here on the workbench that I need to put my final coat of clear on and get that finished up and hand it off. I had one gentleman order a ranch hand belt, and out of that connection with him, he ended up connecting with me 2 other times and ordered more belts. So I've made it to 10 belts. I had a lady bring over some old hardware that she had and that needed a new belt for that. So that's what took me to 10. So officially a great show. I appreciated everybody that showed up over there. But as a result of that, I need leather strap, and I pulled out the box that's labeled for 1.5" strap, and it's empty. So I thought now would be a good time to cover it. I had purchased a strap cutter. When I was at the Prescott Arizona show, I purchased a couple of tools that I said I was going to either replace or at least adjust how I use some different tools. The first one was the rotary punch from C.S. Osborne. I got rid of the weaver punch. I gave that actually to my brother, who's fiddling a little bit with some Leathercraft. And I purchased a replacement for this here. I'm looking to see where I set my replacement tool. You know, if I put the stuff in the same place each time, it'd be easier. But when I was at the show, I was in Bruce Johnson's booth, and I was looking at a totally different style of strap cutter. And I know there's a lot of people out there that use the older model ones that have a blade that you can take out and sharpen. That's not what I purchased. I was looking at that, but I was really intrigued by this tool here. Some of you have probably seen this tool. There's been some advertisements for it lately, but Bruce Johnson picked this up as a line to carry. So I've been playing with it, using this over the last month, and I wanted to make sure I had good solid feedback on it before I showed it here. Yes, I purchased this. It was, I think it was $60 with Bruce Johnson, 60, 65, somewhere in there. But I'm going to cover this a little bit in more detail in today's video. So let's get over here on the workbench. We'll get started. I do appreciate you taking time to be within the shop today. All right, so I'm just putting a little bit of resin here on this belt. This is a belt that I took the order for at the show that I did a couple weeks ago. It's actually about 10 days ago. And I'm just finishing up this belt for the gentleman there. And you guys might have remembered seeing a belt similar to this in a video back a ways. Well, that was the belt the guy saw. He wanted it, but it wasn't in his size. So I'm making one his size here. I'm just finishing up here with resin on it, give it its final protection. I usually make my belts between 10 and 12 ounce weight. And when someone's carrying, tools on it, I've had it just as tools or firearms, whatever it is. If they're going to do that a lot, I'll ask them if they mind if I make it just a little bit heavier so that it holds up better. And I'm usually in the 10 to 12 ounce range. This one's actually 12.5 ounces. So I think that'll fit his needs really well. And I just need to get the hardware mounted on this. This was the other belt that I had got an order for, and it was from the same gentleman. He ordered 2 belts from me. This one has the antique copper spots and an antique, about made a mess, didn't I? Antique copper buckle is going to go on here, and the keeper is going to be in the same color. It's going to be leather. As well, I'm looking up here to see, yeah, I do have the buckle up there. Let me finish putting this on here, and then I'll show you the buckle that is going to end up on here. So this is the buckle that's going to go on here, and I think it goes really nicely with the antique copper spots that are there. So, and I don't have antique copper Chicago screws. Typically when it's something like this, that dark, I just go with a black Chicago screw. So I think it goes really nicely with this buckle here. I thought that maybe before I got over here on the bench and started cutting straps, I'd show you some of the features of this strap cutter. The first one is the adjustment here. You loosen this screw up here and you can adjust your width. The marks are very clearly seen on the metal here, and I find that when I set it to say 1.5 inches here, that I yield a clean 1.5 inch strap, where it seemed like it wasn't that accurate when I was using the wooden strap cutter. So I've got set now to 1.5 inches. The other thing that I liked about it was the use of just a popular blade in here. The strap cutters here, and the blades aren't terribly expensive, but you're a little bit limited in where you can find a blade that fits that. This uses the heavy duty, the larger snap-off blades like these here. And it uses, like I say, the bigger one, and it takes 2 segments in there for your cutting. And you replace that by just loosening up this screw here, and it just comes out like that. And I tried playing with it a little bit, you know, being a little bit conservative on materials, of just using one, because it does get down into there, but I end up adding one more element to the process. That's making sure the leather stays down tight against here so that it cuts. So it's easier to do too. And one reason why I was doing that is you'll see here the blade is exposed there. So, you know, this one here, you can just throw it on the workbench. The chance that you're going to cut yourself or a project's pretty small. This one I need to keep a little bit better eye on. And I probably need to do that with, you know, precision type tools like this so it doesn't get knocked off onto the floor. I don't think this one would bounce as well as that wooden one. So anyway, so you can adjust the width very clearly here, and the replaceable blade, and to adjust the width is here. So I think that really covers most of it. I was a little bit concerned about the short throat here leading into the cutter, of keeping it against the leather so I don't get variation in the width. But I haven't really struggled with that. It took a couple practice cuts, and once I got that done, then it seemed like it worked pretty well. So let's hop over here on the bench, and I'll show you cutting some of these straps. All right, we're going to get started here. This is some, it's actually MTL leather I purchased in Prescott in February, and it's 6/7 ounce. And I'm just going to cut my straps here, and I'll probably cut this hide all the way up. So I'm just starting here against the side, and this blade's been used to cut, I don't know, a dozen straps. So it's not brand new, but it's pretty sharp. And I just ride with my thumb. I don't know if you can see from that angle there. So I'm not sure if you can see from that angle, but I just ride here with my thumb here, holding the strap down, and I'm keeping an eye on to make sure that I stay against this edge here. So we can check it here. It's nice the same from one end to the other. There was times it seemed like I'd get the other one to wander a little bit. Maybe I'm putting too much pressure on it one way or another. But I've been really happy with it. It took me a couple of practice cuts before I felt, you know, comfortable getting into the real thing. And I just keep my thumb here and keep an eye right here to make sure I stay against there. So to get started on this hide, the first thing I did was I took a straight edge out and I cut, you know, a nice straight top on this at the top of the hide. The next thing I did was I measured down I usually like my straps to be about 60 inches. I don't necessarily need 60 inches for most of the belts. The majority of them, you know, someplace in the, I don't know, up to say 52 inches is probably enough. It seems like I rarely make a belt over 42 inches. And I always have some hides on hand that I can, you know, bust out a new one and cut longer straps if I, you know, get called to do so. So I cut the top, and then the next thing I did was I measured down 60 inches, and I cut the neck off of the hide, or the shoulder, I should say, even though I think it's more, you know, into the neck there. And I just put that away to use on maybe knife sheaths or such. And then I just get in here and I start cutting my straps. This large table has really been helpful. I find if I keep the edge of the strap off the edge of the table here, it seems easier to align and use it. I used to do this crawling on the floor until I built this table here. So when I cut the whole hide up, well, not the whole hide, I'm going to stop when I get down probably about here. Then what I'll do is I'll sort my straps afterwards. If it's got a little bit of a blemish in it, then I will put that in a box that I have labeled as liners. And when I get ready to make a belt, I'll pull out one of my clean ones from the regular box, and then I'll look through liners and see if I find one in there I like to line it with. If not, I just use 2 of them out of there. But here's a good example. It's got like this little mark here, and I put it in the liner box just so I know that there's something there. If it's in the other box, then I view that as a clean strap, and I don't need to spend a lot of time checking the strap before I get started. All right, so finished cutting up the hide. I've got my perfect ones, or mostly perfect. Sometimes if there's a mark towards one end or the other, they'll go in here because that will trim off for most of my belts. It seems like most popular belt size is 38 or 40 in there. So those are there, and then these are going to be my liner pieces, and I will put those in my liner box. And sometimes if I'm making, say, a black belt, I don't make as many black belts, but if I'm making a black belt, it tends not to show some of the blemishes as much as, you know, you see in a natural belt or a natural colored belt. So anyway, these will go in my liners here, and yeah. So I am replenished again. I can get back on those. I did want to do a little bit of a shout out. I had a gentleman send me, he's one of my viewers, send me his card and sent me a few stickers here. He's got really some cool stickers here, but Spearhead Leather Goods out of Roseburg, Oregon. So it's Dan, and I really do appreciate people following along. That means a lot to me. And I tell you what, I watch other YouTube creators as well because I learn new techniques, or maybe look at things a little bit differently if I have that perspective. All right, so I have my straps cut. I've actually got a few more that I can cut off of there, but I didn't figure you needed to see the whole thing. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 straps there. It looks like I can probably get 4 more. That'd be 12. So that's enough on that hide for me to make 6 belts, because I used 2 of them for each one of them. So that was a 6/7 hide. I couldn't really find my ideal hide, and it doesn't seem like it normally happens. They're either smaller or bigger. I'd really like to have 5.5 ounce hides, so that when I put the 2 layers together, I end up with 11, which is the sweet spot between the 10 and the 12 ounce that I typically like. And I'm at 13. So what I'll end up doing is I may end up looking, I think I might have a 4 ounce, a 4 or 5 hide back there. And if that's the case, I'll cut straps while I've got it set. I'll cut straps off of that. I find that if I'm doing, and I have made some where I use a 9-ounce and then a liner. When I do that, I don't attempt to cut the liner strap the same width as the belt. I'll overcut it and I'll trim it to size there. So I know there's a lot of variables there because people ask me, how exactly do you do a belt? And I think like most leather workers, it depends on what you've got for leather to work with, what you need to do. So yeah, this is 13, so that's a little bit on the heavy side. I may use a 13 if I'm making a concealed carry belt for somebody. That would give me kind of in that range as well. Let me put this away and then I'll come back here. So I wanted to jump in here with a topic. Last week on Wednesday, I released a video, and it was a belt that I made to honor my brother who is hiking the Appalachian Trail. And he's doing that to raise money for Tunnel to Towers. And in that video, I said that if you'll order a belt from me and tell me that you got it from the Tunnel to Towers video, that I will make a belt for you. And what you pay for the belt, 100% of that will get donated. And I've got 4 orders here that I've received, and I really appreciate that. So that money will get, the price for these belts will get 100% donated to that foundation. And I'm lucky enough to have retired from a company that still has some benefits for retired employees, and one of them is they match my charitable contributions during the year. So they're going to match that same amount. So there's, I think there's like $1,200 there that it'll generate by making those 4 belts and sending them out. I appreciate the people doing that. But I asked my brother, Tom, I think a lot of times people see volunteer firemen and EMS and such and want to know why they do that. And all the years he was a volunteer fireman, I just figured I knew why he did it, but I never asked him why he did that. Here's his answer, because I asked him if he would record an answer of why be a volunteer fireman, and I'm going to play that now for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, the reason that I made that comment about being there for people on their worst day is because you think about it, you pick up the phone, you have a problem, you have a medical emergency, you have a fire, you have an accident, you need help or someone else needs help. What do? You call 911. And you rely on the person on the other end. Being on the other end of that and having that responsibility, wearing the uniform of a firefighter and the helmet and being that person that's responsible to respond is a great responsibility. When you come through the door, you pull up, you can just see the relief on people's faces when they see that help has arrived. It is one of their worst days, or if not the worst day in their life. And that's what drove me to be out there on those calls. When I lived in Bailey and was on the department, I would go out typically 1 or 2 times a night, sometimes 3 times during the night. The pager would go off and you'd respond. Typically they're medical calls, sometimes they're fire calls, obviously. But when the pager would go off and you're tired, you're in bed, all I have to think about is, if I don't go, if I'm not there to help them, who will help them? What if I don't show up? Who will be there for them? So that's what drove me to answer those calls. During my rookie year, I had the honor of receiving Rookie of the Year. And it's because of the number of calls that I went on during that year. And that would be during the night, and in the morning you take a shower and you go to work at 6 o'clock, 6:30 in the morning, head to Denver and start your day at work. People would say, "How was your evening?" And I'd say, "It was a very good evening." But I felt rested and assured that I was there to help somebody that evening. And if it wasn't me, who would it be? But of course, it wasn't just me. We had a department that consisted of anywhere from 50 to 60 firefighters. And one of my neighbors was also a firefighter. He's on the department with me. But an interesting thing is that, imagine all volunteer fire departments are the same. If the majority of the calls were medical calls, Many of those were during the night, of course. And when the pager goes off, there are only a certain number of people that will get up, get out of bed, and go on those calls. Now, if there's a structure fire or any other type of fire, it seems like the whole department turns out. But I was fortunate that I had a great neighbor, John, and he and I would cover calls on our side of the district, and we were typically out there together. So it wasn't just me, and we were there to support emergency medical services, which they were paid and full-time, but there were two of them in the ambulance, and we would typically be on scene first, do a first assessment, be there to help carry the patient out of the house, and then go to the station and man an engine if there needed to be a helicopter evacuation, because we would always have an engine with charged hoses when any helicopter landed on the landing pad. So it was a team, but I felt like I needed to be there when people needed me.
Well, there you go. I'm not saying that you have to be a volunteer fireman to have that same sense of reward, because I'm sure that the firemen and EMS out there, probably many police officers, they're doing that because that's where they feel like they're called, and that's what they want to do with their life, to help other people in those probably can be challenging situations. I realize I've not had to dial 911 before, and I hope I don't have to. But I know that if I do, someone's going to show up and lend me a hand. Well, there you go. Hopefully that was a short video today. I'll get it edited down about as short as I can get, and I got a lot of work ahead of me over here. I've got a good start on them. I have two of the belts, I'm going to call it finished. I just need to really mount hardware on them. I've got two of the belts down to doing the edge work on it, so I'm making progress on there, and I'll get caught back up before you know it. I really do appreciate you taking time to be with the shop today. Please like, share, and subscribe, but more importantly, I hope you have a great day.